Like other masterful stories, Better Call Saul does more showing versus telling. Because we're never told explicitly what to think at any given moment, sometimes certain scenes or moments aren't clear in our minds until we dissect them a bit. So welcome to the third mini-essay in a casual series I'm calling Confusing Moments Explained, where we'll look at the most perplexing moments or elements in any story and explain what they most likely mean for the story and or characters. These moments are often confusing because the relevance or meaning isn't apparent upon initial viewing, and that's okay because they're meant to be thought about rather than taken at a surface level understanding. So with that in mind, let's look at another confusing scene, this time from Season 6, Episode 5, Black and Blue, and answer the question, why didn't Howard provide Cliff with an alibi after being accused of throwing a prostitute out of his car? Which of course was actually Jimmy and Kim's doing as part of their character assassination. If it's your first time here, my name is Quentin. I'm a writer, a teacher, and sometimes performer. It's time to look at the compelling artistry of Better Call Saul yet again. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this one. Let's get into it. So why would Howard Hamlin, a man who's come out the other side emotionally and professionally after his law partner's death, not be straightforward about his whereabouts when Cliff saw Jimmy, dressed as Howard, throw that sex worker out of his Jaguar? Let's break down all the potential reasons, beyond the narrative trope of, I don't have time to explain this to you, I need to go. It's not like Howard is ashamed of the fact that he's been seeing a therapist since Chuck's death, so he's not withholding his alibi to evade any vulnerability or embarrassment with Cliff. In fact, I'm sure Cliff is fully aware that Howard has been seeing a therapist. So then the first potential reason why Howard withholds his alibi is simply because he doesn't think Cliff will believe him. The fact that Cliff was conveniently meeting with Kim when this hit and run took place is all Howard needs to deduce that this is another one of Jimmy's scams. But imagine explaining that to Cliff. It's very likely he already told Cliff about Jimmy's harassment after the disastrous lunch they had a few months earlier, but it's uncertain if Cliff actually believed him. Based off of Cliff's open and empathetic confrontation in this scene, we can assume he didn't believe Howard about Jimmy being the one who sent those two sex workers to their lunch. Or at least Cliff became more skeptical after the fake drugs fell out of Howard's locker, and after hearing the Kettleman's claims about his drug use. So Howard's probably thinking, how can I convince him that Jimmy stole my car and intentionally made a scene in front of him if he didn't believe me the first time? Cliff is somewhat aware of Jimmy McGill's sketchiness after working with him at Davison, Maine, but not to the same extent as Howard. This scam is too baroque for him to even begin to try and convince Cliff, so he doesn't even bother to give him an alibi. It would be a waste of time and energy as far as he's concerned. The second potential reason why Howard doesn't provide an alibi is due to his unclear mental state. Just when he thought Jimmy had gotten all of his misplaced anger and pain out of his system at the courthouse, Howard is now confronted with the reality that Jimmy has not let up a bit on the harassment, and has even brought Kim into it. He's hurt, angry, and anxious after this revelation. I love the way Howard just swallows his feelings and says, "Alright." Maybe because I can picture myself doing the same thing, I don't know. You can see him try to set aside these emotions and focus on trying to stop Jimmy before he can strike again, trying to shift to his usual calm, fix-it mode. On top of trying to keep his mental health in check, financial debt, marital issues, and keeping HHM running smoothly, this is the last thing Howard needs on his plate. So we can assume he's feeling overwhelmed on top of being hurt, angry, and anxious. With all of these thoughts and feelings surging through him, he almost forgets Cliff is even there until he thanks him for trying to look out for him. When we're really emotional, it's very hard to think clearly and logically, especially if we're trying to remain calm and keep these emotions contained. It's safe to say Howard doesn't have the clearest mental state in this moment to give Cliff an alibi. The only thing he can truly say is that,
I have a Jimmy McGill problem,
and excuse himself to deal with it once and for all. The third potential reason why Howard offers no alibi to Cliff is due to his confidence and determination to handle it on his own. At this point, Howard just assumes this is another one of Jimmy's scams to blow off steam from Chuck's death and from his unresolved resentment towards him. He has no idea that this is part of a larger, more elaborate scam against him, mainly as an effort to make the Sandpiper Crossing case settle quicker. Howard dealing with this on his own by hiring a private investigator is exactly what Jimmy and Kim predicted he would do. He usually plays things straight, unlike them. And besides, Howard has been through a lot with Jimmy, unlike Cliff. so it's not like Cliff would easily understand the context of this harassment. So for Howard, it's not necessary to divulge to Cliff at this moment. He knows, or at least he thinks he knows, how Jimmy operates, so he can deal with it on his own. The final potential reason ties in with this one as well. Howard is not only confident in his ability to handle Jimmy on his own, but he also doesn't want to involve Cliff by giving him an alibi. There's no sense in bringing Cliff into this sordid affair. It's animosity from Jimmy towards him, so why would he involve Cliff by offering an explanation to where he was when this hit and run went down? That would just be adding another party into this mess. So Howard doesn't bother to offer an alibi. It's too much of a liability and an unnecessary burden to put on Cliff. Also, maybe Howard worries if he tells Cliff too much that Jimmy might do something to him. So to conclude, those are all the reasons I think why Howard doesn't offer an alibi to Cliff about his actual whereabouts when the hit and run happened. He doesn't think Cliff will believe him, he doesn't have the clearest mental state at this moment, he thinks he can handle Jimmy's antics on his own, and he's reluctant to say anything since it could risk involving Cliff. Later in the episode, Howard does attempt to deal with Jimmy on his own, and while he thinks he's gotten ahead of the harassment, as we know, this tragically turns out not to be the case. In retrospect, maybe Howard would have given Cliff Main more information if he had been aware of how deep this plot against him was going. But at this point, Howard just thought he had an ongoing Jimmy McGill problem. If only it had been that simple. Let me know what you think of this scene in the comments. Are there any other reasons why you think Howard didn't offer an alibi? Thank you so much for watching. My Patreon is linked below if you want to support me in making these videos. Or hey, why not throw me a tip by clicking on the 3 dots below, or become a member of the channel. You can earn some badges and get early access to videos like this one. Any amount you can afford helps a lot. Thank you. A special shout out to all of our channel members, Vermilion Star, Beatrice Paz, Coral Etkin, Adam S, and Niraj A. Thanks for the continued support. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. See you soon.